Good afternoon, and thank you for taking time away from your families and businesses to join us for this Epic Insight. This is Brian Lenz, Director of Sales here at Epic Retirement Plan Services, and I'll be your MC for today's call. We're excited to be joined today by Mark Hogan and Ken Jackson of Contegra Retirement Services, with whom we've begun a partnership to offer you and your plans a seamless overlay of 316 fiduciary services. We view this strategic partnership as a tremendous fit and value add for all parties. When you combine Epic's core strengths and expertise in the record keeping and administration of plans with Contegra's prowess and experience in delivering 316 services, you and your clients will benefit from a conflict-free service with independent checks and balances offered by experts in our respective fields. Today, Mark and Ken, who both serve as regional directors on Contegra's sales team, are going to provide some background on 316 services in general and highlight the differences between our offering and some of the 316 services being marketed in the industry that don't really live up to their bill. We hope that this helps you cut through some of the noise and make informed decisions for your clients. As always, your line will be muted throughout the call, but if you have any questions you want to run by us at the conclusion of the webinar, please do enter those in the questions panel, and I will throw those out to Ken and Mark. With that, I'll turn it over to Ken.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ken Jackson, as Brian mentioned. I'm a regional director that's based in Denver, Colorado. I've been with Contegra for 10 years. My colleague, Mark Hogan, is out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He's been with Contegra for 16 years. We appreciate you all taking the time, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Who is Contegra? Contegra was created in 1943 by a group of plan sponsors that wanted to outsource the responsibilities and liabilities to a fiduciary administration company. So we're one of the oldest continuously operating professional fiduciaries for the employee retirement plans in the U.S. The group that outsourced us was the Federal Home Loan Bank system in 1943. They opened it up to the Federal Home Loan Bank systems. The Federal Home Loan Bank is a bank that provides mortgage lending to community banks. So they're a bank for banks. And then we had a lot of the financial institutions they worked with that started working with Contegra. One of the unique things about Contegra is that we are governed by an independent board of our clients. We have a dedicated, tenured, and accredited team of fiduciary experts who've attained the CFEX accreditation on administration of retirement plans, one of the highest levels you can get. We also are an industry thought leader. Our general counsel is often invited, and again I use the word invited, to the Department of Labor and the IRS to be on think tanks and panels to help discuss how we can improve the retirement industry. Contegra is a 316 administrator on thousands of plans, and we have a lot of knowledge and experience that 80 years will bring you. I thought I'd bring this up. This is an interesting story because it's an advisory business that actually got this IRS bill. This was an advisor that had 5 people in his business. He sold Contegra's 316 services and thought he should put his money where his mouth was, and he took on Contegra as the 316. What was interesting was when we filed his 2019 5500, we looked backwards to make sure that he had filed his previous year's 5500s and noticed that 2018 had not been filed. We helped him put it together, go through the DFVCP filing, and 2 weeks later he got a bill from the IRS for $91,500. We were able to forward on the receipt from the DFVCP. The IRS forgave the $91,000. I find it interesting that here you can see it happens to anyone, that this was an advisory firm, someone that knows a lot about 5500s. And the other interesting thing was, if you think about the amount of contributions that this plan could have done in that year for 5 people, the penalty was greater than the contributions. We had another situation where one of our partner record keepers had taken on a plan that the information that had been sent to them was wrong. And so when we went through the 5500 filing, the review of the compliance, it looked like there was going to be a $320,000 refund. One of the benefits of the 316 is that we have people that have a lot of knowledge and experience. I mentioned accredited people that work at Contegra. Shirley, in this case, felt there was something wrong with the numbers and asked our partner to go out and check with the prior record keeper that they had sent us the correct data. The data had been sent from the previous year versus the year we needed. When we put in the numbers again, that correction went from $320,000 in refunds down to $2,800. So quite a considerable change there, I think you'd agree. When we talk about this slide here, it's interesting to think of a business. If you put yourself in the business owner's seat, they've got a business to run. There's a lot of stuff to understand about ERISA. There's a lot of stuff to read. There's a lot of stuff to sign. There's a lot of stuff to follow. Yet they have no formal training on how to run a retirement plan. A lot of that burden actually falls on you to help them with that. But attached to that is the stick. There's personal liability that's attached to any errors that they make, hence the $91,500. How much time do you spend helping your clients on administration of a retirement plan? As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of stuff. I recently had a plan sponsor that couldn't spell Quadro. She didn't know what Quadro was. She was told to look it up on the internet, and she kept spelling it Quadro. She had no idea, and finally called me, and we were able to help her through with that. So there's a lot of time that is spent. This would all be relieving them of that time and giving them the time back in their day to take over, to put that into an activity that generates profit.
Well, this is Mark. I'll take over from Ken. Thank you, Ken. You can tell there's a little difference in our accent, so I'll just kind of take it home from here. So Contegra is a fiduciary partner for your plans. And as a fiduciary, we focus on every aspect of the plan. So we have assigned a dedicated Contegra group to the Epic relationship. So you've got some people that are top quality in this industry. They love what they do. They're passionate about it. And that's the kind of team that you have behind you with Contegra and Epic on this particular 316 solution. Actually, David Levine, if you know the industry, David Levine is one of the principals of Groom Law in DC, and we work with David on a number of projects, been on a number of committees with him. And just last week, this was a quote from David. He said, lots of providers now offer 316 services, but there's a difference between someone offering 316 services and a 316 fiduciary. So Contegra has actually been doing this, acting as a professional fiduciary 30 years before ERISA was ever formed. Brian asked us to talk a little bit about the 316 administration marketplace, the industry as a whole out there, and we can certainly get into more detail. I will say this, all of the Contegra regional directors who Epic and you will be working with on this, we certainly consistently are some of the most knowledgeable in the industry on 316, and not just about the product and service that we in Epic will be offering, but also just what everyone else is doing out there. We've probably looked at more 316 service agreements from different providers than anyone else in the industry, maybe everyone else combined, because we're passionate about what we do, and we continue to try to show the differences in what we do versus what's out there. So I just put a few simple bullets down. We can certainly go into more detail and will when you have a prospect, but most 316 providers are relatively new in the industry. So we've been doing this since 1943, literally. And even though there's a preponderance of providers that have jumped into the marketplace, most of those have gotten in really in the last 2 to 3 years. And most of them got in because they thought they had to, and a lot of them still don't know what they're doing. And I don't say that lightly. Many services out there are what we would call 316 light. Very few 316 providers are named in the plan document. So in one of the two solutions that we'll talk about here in a minute that are the Epic Contegra solutions, Contegra is actually named in the plan document. Used to be that who signs the Form 5500 was the acid test for a 316 provider. Now, virtually all of the providers do. And so you have to drill down a little deeper, not only in their service agreement, but also, are they actually signing the plan document to see what kind of value you've got? So the devil's in the details, right? And we can help you with that. I actually use this quote, and I'll read it verbatim because I think it makes a difference. And this is something you can certainly use as well. But in today's highly regulated and litigated environment, it's more critical than ever to choose experienced fiduciary partners. Qualities like integrity of service, longevity, track record, bench strength, debt level, claims paying ability, insurance coverage, and claims history really do matter. And you will find that no one exceeds Contegra from when you have a statement like this as far as any of our competitors. No one will do better at this from a record keeper or from a record provider than we will. So here's, I'm going to spend a little more time on this. There are actually two options that we're offering. One is called comprehensive. The other is called enhanced. Both are meant to be easy. These are overlays, what we call in the industry overlays on Epic's record keeping. So we did it with the intent of keeping things streamlined, both for the advisor partners and also more importantly, for the plan sponsors. So on both of these, Epic will still be your primary point of contact. On the comprehensive, you can see out by the list of services, and I just thought we'd put them side by side. It'll be easier for me to go through and point out some of the differences and easier for you to refer back to. But the first three on the comprehensive side, I think are the most meaningful. So Contegra and Comprehensive will be actually named in the plan document as the plan administrator. We are then responsible for all of the operational compliance of the individual plan for the adopter, and we oversee the plan document, which, as you know, governs the plan. So there's a laundry list of other services there. I'm not going to go through them all, but it is, as the title suggests, comprehensive. There's one at the bottom called plan audit support. So we actually provide plan audit support at both the comprehensive and enhanced levels. And when I say audit support, Contegra will be the primary contact if the plan has an audit requirement. So we will work with the auditor directly in both scenarios as the primary contact for that audit, which that alone has tremendous value to most plan sponsors and advisors and partners for that matter. And we'll also be doing an annual plan review. So on the comprehensive side, we're a little more hands-on. We'll still do a lot by email. So email will be our primary form of communication with you as an advisor partner or with your plan sponsor. But we are assigning a dedicated Contegra account manager to the relationship. So both comprehensive and enhanced will have the same relationship management team. On the comprehensive, we'll actually be on the welcome call with Epic, and the plan sponsors will actually get the dedicated account manager from Contegra, their phone number and email address directly. On the enhanced, you can see that there's a difference in services. So we wanted to have a lighter model. There's calls for that out there. We still believe this is powerful. But again, we didn't want to try to have a one size fits all, and we didn't want to get too complicated either. So we settled with Epic on kind of a two solution, a step one, step two possible option for you. So at least you've got a choice here. So we just sign and file the 5500. I think here the three main value propositions are the third, fourth, and fifth bullet point. So reviewing compliance testing, reviewing the contribution calculations, and reviewing the census data are probably the three most powerful advantages to Enhanced. And, a couple of Ken's stories, and we've got stories coming in literally every week, attested to that. So, not signing and filing the Form 5500, could have cost that advisor retirement plan 91,000 plus. The census data look back on the second plan made a difference of about 318,000 or 317,000 and change. And again, we'll share these stories with you. We always think stories are the best way to sell, and especially with you as an advisor partner, it's important for you to kind of get a good grasp around why you should be presenting this to your clients and prospects. I'll just mention also on the plan audit support under Enhanced. So they both say plan audit support, but in the Enhanced, we try to keep it to a 2-hour limit. Now, it's not in our DNA to say, sorry, that's the cutoff. You've reached the 2-hour limit. We'll never do that. If we have to get heavily involved with the audit, and sometimes we do, then we'll have a conversation internal. But we will always step in and do whatever we need to do to make things right for the plan sponsor. So rest assured. But that is one of the differences. On the pricing, so you can see in the dark blue header at the top, the pricing is fairly simple. For comprehensive, it is $35 per active participant. We do have a $3,500 minimum. So if you've got 100 participants, it's $35. That's $3,500. But we didn't want to exclude anyone being under that number of participants. So we do have a minimum there. On the Enhanced side, it's a $2,000 annual base and $5 per active participant. So the comprehensive is a fantastic value, but sometimes there is a price difference. We also know businesses these days are very price sensitive. So we tried to make this very competitive from a pricing standpoint on both solutions. But sometimes Enhanced is all they need and all they want. We do have a lot of folks that get into Enhanced and then they run into an audit and they maybe want more support, or they like the idea of getting their name off a 100-page legal document. So we do have people upgrading and for a few dollars in the grand scheme of things to comprehensive, and that happens regularly. Okay, I think that kind of gives you a fairly good overview. When we talk to folks in the industry, and we talk to a lot of advisors out there, we often hear back still to this day from an advisor, nobody asked me about 316. And it doesn't surprise us, even though it is, that wave is cresting. There's a lot of 316 talk out there. But what we tell people is, most plan sponsors don't know that there's a solution available, and they don't know the questions to ask. So it's funny. I was talking to an advisor the other day, and he said this. He said, nobody asked me about 316, and I said, well, you're a 338. Do they understand, you being an investment fiduciary and what a 338 means? He goes, oh yeah, they get that. And I said, well, are these plan, is that plan a good administrator? Do they do a good job with the plan administration on their plan? He said, heck no, they're terrible at it, and they don't want to deal with it. And I said, well, maybe that's a cue to, be able to explain this service and to let them know it's out there, and, give them the features and some of the benefits as to why they might be interested in this. Practice efficiencies and the worst part of the job. I'll hit the worst part of the job first. If you're engaged in and focused on the employer retirement plan industry, I find advisors all the time that care about their clients, and I'm sure you do, getting in the middle of this. So they jump into the administrative part of it and they hate it. I know it chews up a lot of time, and if you're in this business in a big way or trying to grow your practice, you're going to find that that's the worst part of the job. And why not have somebody else that's good at it and that cares about it and is passionate about it do it? And then practice efficiencies. We talk to advisor firms all the time they're dealing with 5, 10, 15 different record keepers, and they're trying to skinny that down because it drives them nuts when they have to make a change and they don't have a good contact in that particular record keeper. So they're looking to reduce their number of record keepers, but something like they're also generally working with less FTE. So they're trying to grow their practice and use less resources. There's almost nothing better to take the sting out of this than 316, some type of 316 overlay. So better for the practice, helps you grow your business, and better from your sanity standpoint as far as not having to deal with the administration issues. The last thing I'll say is proactive versus reactive. So most of the advisors we talk to these days, the first time we have a contact with them is when they're calling us up and they're going, you know something, somebody came in and talked about being the plan administrator, offering some 316 services. We don't know what's going on here, but we don't want to lose this account. Help us save it. And that's fine. We don't care how we get introduced to an advisor or plan sponsor. But more and more advisors are starting to figure out that it's better to be proactive with this than reactive. And I will also tell you that with the proliferation of MEPs and now PEPs and soon GOPs, groups of plans, most of these have not only a 338, but they also have some level of 316 administrative service solutions. So if you haven't run into it now, your clients are gonna be. So I would just highly suggest being proactive versus reactive on this. I'll close by just reiterating what Ken said. We're one of America's oldest independent fiduciaries, and our goal is to build better retirement plans with less risk and less responsibility for you and the plan sponsors, fewer administrative burdens, greater efficiencies, improved outcomes for everybody. We also want them to be cost effective, and I think we've accomplished that here between us and Epic. I think we're going to be highly cost effective with a great solution. And the last thing I'll say is plans that provide peace of mind. This might be the single biggest thing we hear back from plan sponsors once they have this product. I mean, they come back and we go, what do you like about it? And they say, you know something, I sleep better at night. I don't have to worry about making a mistake. I know this thing is, a nightmare to keep up with. We aren't trained, highly complex. And oh, by the way, we like not being liable anymore. So peace of mind seems to be the biggest feedback we get from plan sponsors that like it. So we are at 25 after the hour. Brian, we'll pause here. And if anyone wants to field, pose any questions, we'll be glad to answer those as they come up.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mark and Ken. That was a great entree into the service. We certainly, as I mentioned at the onset, please do enter any questions you have in the panel there, and we will field them as a group. One question came in thus far, kind of related to Epic's responsibilities versus Contegra's, and rest assured, we're certainly not, with introducing this offering, scaling back what Epic is bringing to the table. Certainly, we are involved in many of the aspects of a plan that were listed on the slide that Ken and Mark showed related to the 316 duties. With this extra layer, you basically have an independent overseer to the work we're doing that is going to step into that fiduciary seat for the plan sponsor. So this is kind of the do-it-for-me role, like so many of us are accustomed to offering to participants on the investment side, but for the plan sponsor and running the plan. And we do believe there is power in having this set up with an independent structure. Certainly there are offerings out there where a single provider is a record keeper, administrator, custodian, maybe trustee, and 316 all rolled into one. And that certainly can work. And, perhaps there are some cost advantages to that. But I think to really do the job of a 316 in a conflict-free way, you need an independent party overseeing another who's doing the work. And that's the reason we've structured the arrangement as we have here. Ken or Mark, anything to add on that as far as kind of where our roles overlap versus not?
Yeah, I thought, Brian, this is Mark. I thought you did a good job with that. What I'll say in the industry is a lot of the providers that are now offering the 316 services, you really need to read the fine print once again on the service agreement. So a lot of times they are not doing the 316 work. They are outsourcing it. Someone else has stepped in the background. And often it's a very light menu of services. A lot of these competitors are insurance companies, and I can tell you that their legal department and the insurance they sell dwarfs their employee retirement plan business. So they have a hard time wanting the record keeper to be a fiduciary on an employee retirement plan. So that, check the service agreement. We can help you with that. Look for different terms and red flags. And again, we can help you with that as well. But yeah, what Brian said was Epic is still going to do everything they're doing. This is just an extra set of eyes on stuff that's important.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is if you think about it, the Epic does a fantastic job on the administration and record keeping of the plan. And in traditional plans, they would then hand that to the plan sponsor. As we all know, 99% of the plan sponsors have never read their plan document. So how is the plan sponsor meant to review all the work and make sure the plan document was followed, the DOL regs, the IRS, and the RISA were followed? This gives them the opportunity to shift that burden to Contegra in partnership with Epic and protects them and reduces the liability they attain.
Thank you both. You guys have obviously been out in the field selling this concept for many years. Are there certain things that advisors should be looking out for, or quintessential candidates for the introduction of this kind of service?
I will say this. I don't think there's any plan sponsor that would say they wouldn't want some type of 316 service, large, small, or in somewhere in the middle. It's just a matter of, is it worth it to them, right? So it does come down to pricing. It isn't just pricing. So, what I would warn you against is don't go with the cheapest, just like if you're buying a lawnmower or hiring a contractor. The cheapest is usually not the best. But I don't know a plan sponsor out there, if you present this to them, that wouldn't say, yeah, I'd love to, go ahead and give it to me.
I like to think of it also as an insurance. Does a business owner have insurance on their house, on their building, on their equipment? Do they have E&O insurance? This is also an insurance, as you saw earlier with the story where there was a $91,500 penalty. So this is an insurance against those types of surprises. But the benefit of this insurance product is that we're also doing work. We're partnering with Epic. We're overseeing and helping Epic make sure that everything is, all the T's and I's are dotted and crossed, and relieving the plan sponsor, more importantly, of that work. And so by relieving them of that work, this is actually an insurance policy that's working for the business owner. And if you think of the time that they're freed up, even if it's just on the audit support, the time that they're given back into their day to put to work, this is an insurance policy that's actually generating a return for them. And the other area to think about is, you mentioned what type of businesses. Really, it's startup plans. So if you think about a startup plan, have they had any experience or knowledge? Have they ever run a 401k plan before? So it may all be new to them, and this takes away some of the knowledge they need. If it's a larger company and it's a growing company, where do they want to put their resources? Do they want to put it into finding, if it's a human resource person that's responsible for the retirement plan, do they want to have that person spending time on a retirement plan, or do they want them out there looking for new candidates to get new employees to help grow the business? So if you do an identification on what the needs are for the business and look at how the business is looking at growing or where it'll be in a year or two, That's where you see a lot of the offset of why they would want to outsource this. I think a lot of businesses outsource their technology. Why do they do that? They do it because they don't want to bring someone in. Technology changes so quickly. Well, we've seen Secure, we've seen CARES Act. There's changes happening in our industry as well.
Right. Thank you both. The topic of the fiduciary warranty, guys, has come up obviously in the industry. People have been throwing those around. Can you comment on Contegra's stance on that and what you're offering, if anything, on that front, and what to look out for as it relates to that?
Yeah, so Enhanced does have a limited liability to it. So there are services out there that will limit liability, like services. Enhanced, I think, is robust, but these agreements are not 40 pages. They're 6, 7, 8 pages. From a service agreement standpoint, they're very plain as to what we provide and what's left over for the plan sponsor. So we think they're well written. We think they're straightforward. In comprehensive, there is no liability limit. So another reason to maybe pay a little bit extra to go with the comprehensive versus the enhanced. I think there's a small value, small price difference for the value. So that's what I would say on that, if that helps.
Thank you, Mark. Ken, anything to add on that?
Yeah, so a lot of our competitors, as was said, a lot of them are new to the industry. They may have only been doing it in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. One of the things is Contegra has been around for 80 years. It was interesting, before the call, a competitor had talked to an advisor, and they were asking us about this competitor. When we pulled up the 5500 on our competitor, they'd actually had a 30% reduction in the assets in their own 401k. So they were actually at 600,000 in their own 401k, and they had about 48 employees. That tells you a little bit about the strength of that company. It's a smaller company. How do they have the pockets deep enough that if they make a mistake, and if they're truly a fiduciary on it, how do they have the pockets that are deep enough? Well, how they normally set it up is they set up 2 companies. They have the TPA, which is doing the work, and they have a sister company that is the fiduciary company. And the fiduciary company has a fiduciary insurance policy. One thing about fiduciary insurance, because of all of the lawsuits that are going on, fiduciary insurance is harder to get and it's more expensive. But the key thing on the limitation of liability is that if you look at the devil in the details, the plan sponsor has to prove to the insurance carrier of the fiduciary sister company that the TPA performed gross negligence. A lot of times that's the exact words they have in there. It's very hard to prove gross negligence. It's funny, some of our competitors, whenever they present to a legal firm to try and take over the legal firm's plan, they take immediately out the word gross. But the point being that the plan sponsor has to go through proving that there was gross negligence performed by the TPA shop before the insurance policy from the sister company will pay out. With Contegra, we don't have that. We've been around 80 years. We're able to stroke the check. And sure, we have insurance policies if we need that, but we have the ability to stroke the check before that.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken. Well, I know we've jumped over the half an hour here. Thanks again to Ken and Mark and Contegra Retirement Services, and thank you all for joining us for this Epic Insight webinar. For those of you who would like to learn more about the new solution, please do reach out to your Epic RPS sales consultant or relationship manager. We're happy to talk through the details as well as pull in the Kens and Marks of the Contegra team to join that conversation as well. As a follow-up to this, we'll also send out a copy of today's slides, a recording of the session, and some general fact sheets we have on the offering. And most importantly, we wish you safety and health as you support your families, colleagues, and clients. And please don't hesitate to contact us if there's anything Epic can do to support you. Thanks again.
Thank you.